Everyone has a customer. Here's how to drive them to action.
Let's get into it.
Video Mavericks, the small business video marketing podcast. Presented by Workshop Media. With your hosts, Brett and Jeff, sharing a combined 40 years of video production and marketing experience. Take it away.
A customer could be anyone consuming what you're creating. The way we describe customers on the podcast is in that way. It's someone that is consuming what you're creating, what you're sending out and hoping to drive action with. So that could be a donor, a potential recruit, supporter of your organization, or just flat out a fan, somebody that's just a fan and a loyal fan of your business.
You might say a customer is more synonymous with an audience.
Right.
It's a specific person or type of person in your
audience. A lot of
audience.
times we use that interchangeably.
Yeah.
Too many businesses miss out by thinking that they just got to make money, right? I mean, we do as business owners.
Yeah.
We got to, that's a given. But there's a lot of opportunity lost in thinking in one direction.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about marketing, it's very easy to make the connection that if you're marketing, you should only be marketing to make sales of the product that you're selling. But you can market ideas. You can market to drive action. Like you mentioned to recruit, you can market to recruits because you want someone to take an action to come to work for you. You can market to fundraise.
Yep.
You could market to, come out to a particular event to support something that you're doing. So there's marketing to make sales. There's also marketing of ideas, and customers, they still need to be spoken to directly for the specific thing that you're asking them to do. It's just kind of broaden your thought process a little bit in terms of what you can do with video to reach people for different outcomes.
So every audience has a potential influence, is what you're saying. Followers, investors, collaborators, people that want to volunteer. We're saying whether you're exchanging money for a product or service, you're exchanging time for, on a Saturday to go to that event. You're exchanging your Monday through Friday in your skills for a position in that organization, and in turn getting paychecks. So you're a customer is a very broad definition,
right? And so ultimately, you're just driving an action, driving someone to take an action, because you've asked for it.
Yep. And so ultimately, video. This is about video marketing. Video is going to be the best tool for any action that you need to happen within your business.
Yep.
To build awareness, brand recall, to educate and inform, to inspire. Video is the best way to do it. It's the closest thing we have to sitting across from somebody and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, in many ways, it's much better, because sitting here talking to you, while it's not boring, there is no music.
Yeah. It's not a curated experience.
Yeah, it's not a curated experience, right? And so we just have you and I in the headphones.
Can you imagine walking around and always having like a really dapper presentation for every conversation that you have? You go, I'd like to talk to you for just a moment. If you could just hold on 1 second, have a slideshow.
And music.
This guy's going to play music for me,
right.
and this person's going to swing in a title card every once in a while.
I can imagine that, and do imagine that quite a bit. So how do you make video work if they are a customer in many ways? How do you make it work specifically?
Audience segmentation is a really important thing. And so that's understanding that your message needs to be tailored to that audience. And so what is that audience very specifically? If you're trying to do all things for all people with one piece of content, then ultimately you're going to miss somewhere. Either you're going to speak to everyone too generally, or you're going to speak to, the wrong person, or you're going to alienate people because I'm speaking to an investor and the recruit is watching it, or vice versa.
You're also going to miss an opportunity for how you feel about, the performance data, how you feel about that return on the investment. Well, I wanted to get new hires. I wanted to get more sales. I wanted to get all these things with this one piece of content. One of them worked pretty good. The others, I didn't get any new hires, or the hires, the applicants were all wrong fit. So expecting this great return, you're not going to get it.
I mean, if you can imagine, if we take the idea of it being in a video and set that aside for just a moment, consider you're having a conversation with a potential employee, a new hire, and you're talking to them at a really high level, and you never actually get to the point of understanding that, or speaking to them as a potential employee. You're talking to them about your financing structure for how the business is run and how these investors are supporting the business, and how, you're talking about everything except the thing that they're interested in.
Yep.
That would be a very awkward conversation. And
what would you do if you were watching a television show that, that was immediately didn't hit any of the things that you enjoyed or were looking for in the show? You would do what?
Change the channel. I'm definitely not going to come back to it.
That's right. So I now know that company's not for me.
So if you imagine, if you can liken it to having that one-on-one conversation with someone, you understand the person that you're talking to in that case, and you're going to be on the same page with them. And if you're not, it's going to become obvious very quickly. So when we think about the different audiences for audience segmentation for video, it's really the same sort of thing. You need to understand that you are talking to a person.
And then that person has needs.
That's exactly right.
That person has desires.
So what motivates them and what drives them to want to take that action? So understand who they are and understand what they're looking for. And if you have something to offer to them, that needs to be made very clear. And in the world of video, that becomes a little easier because you have the benefit of time and focus to tailor that message, understand who they are, make sure that you're speaking directly to their pain point and their motivation, and then deliver it to them in a way that is going to be something that they want to watch. So once you understand that motivation and who they are, you have to really think back to what is the currency that's exchanging. So if you're not making a sale and you're asking them to give you their time or their focus or their voice, you have to start to think about that. So that you can empathically connect and appeal to them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So everyone has a customer. They're consuming what you create, and in being very specific in what you're creating to make that connection, to educate them, to inspire them to take action. The strategy is extremely important. All the way back to your brand story, all the way back to your business goals. What are you doing, and how do you get that customer to give you their money? How do you get that customer to give them your attention, or, whatever it is the objective is?
And some of the content's going to feel different if you're asking someone to make a purchase than if you're asking someone to volunteer. It's going to it's kind of hard to put it into words, but it's going to feel different. There'll be a different approach. And if you're speaking to, try to make this a little more of a concrete example. If you're speaking to an investment team and you're trying to raise money for the next phase of your business, you're going to probably be a lot more direct. You're gonna speak on topics in a more of a hardline way. Certainly appeal to their senses, but you're getting sort of down to brass tacks, so to speak. If you're trying to appeal to a potential recruit, you're going to probably be a little warmer. You're going to try to come across as a little bit more of like the culture side of the business and less of the nuts and bolts. If you're trying to get someone to volunteer, you're going to be appealing to someone's willingness to give their time. So there are nuances, but that might mean that the music is a little different. It might mean that the pacing of the video is a little bit different, or even the visuals are less, maybe they're a little more stark in an investment where we're going through the numbers and I need you to understand this in a very clear way. Those types of elements probably don't make sense when you're trying to appeal to someone in a volunteer or philanthropy type of role, right? So, that is to say, just consider all of the elements of the video that you're making, and does every single element speak to the person? Does the font work? Does the, all of those little tiny things, the decisions that are made, all of them should be pointed towards the specific customer and the specific currency and what you're asking them to do, and meet them in the place that's going to mean the most to them.
This is a bit of loftier, a headier kind of concept here.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
We want to think a little creatively, a little more creatively about your customer, of what that could mean. We need to make money for the business to continue. Cash flow is important. All of that, we get that. Making content. So, let's think about a nonprofit, right? May not have a customer. That's by definition,
right?
So you do have an audience, but audience sometimes for a business doesn't make sense. So we're trying to tie the word customer to that. And this is generally about business owners, but it applies to organizations that have goals, have organizational goals and initiatives with their within their organization, right? And that is either to get more people on board, to donate more money, to appeal to the board, to increase headcount, whatever those things are. Think about it like a customer.
Who are your stakeholders in your process? A nonprofit, for example, they're going to probably have a customer that is some governing board from their municipality. That's a separate customer. At some point, they're going to have to talk to those people more than likely about something to do with their operation. If you're a developer, you'll have the customer that is your partner in the construction process. You'll also have the customer that is the planning department that you have to get zoning dealt with through. And then you're going to have a customer that is the community that needs to be willing to accept that you're going to destroy their street while you build a new, a new complex. So who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that you need to keep informed for whatever it is that you're doing, and then understand that they all need to be spoken to directly and differently. So that you are appealing to them in the most effective way. To
drive action of some sort. The action that is driven, if it's traffic, if it's
could just be
revenue,
understanding.
If it's that. The action is that I am now aware of what it is you're doing. You're appealing to this customer, quote, to get that action. So that's the point here.
Speak to them directly, and the content that you're making needs to be so tailored that it hits the mark.
I'm very curious how this one lands.
Yeah,
it's a creative concept here, but I think
it's one that we think about a lot.
It's helpful for people that don't actually have a quote customer for their organization, right? This is for the retail commerce, the small businesses. This is thinking a little bit, or even for that group to think about it not just being about making money on a sale.
Yeah.
So
I like this one. I think that if more people think this way, it's going to really open up their mind into how to tailor your video content for the maximum reach and maximum effectiveness. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We release episodes each week packed full of insights on how to grow and scale your business with strategic video marketing.
That's right. And if you're ready to take the next step with your business, join us in our brand storytelling workshop. In just 90 minutes, we'll work with you and your team to uncover your brand message, align everyone around a clear narrative, and map out the exact videos that will move your business forward. This is a custom, strategic session built around your unique goals. Learn more and book your session at brandstoryworkshop.com.